Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Monomyth Diaries, a podcast where ordinary people get to share their hero's journey. I'm Mandy.
And I'm Karen, and we'll be your hosts.
We'll discover powerful insights, critical moments of growth, and much more.
Thanks for joining us. We all have a monomyth to share, and someone out there needs to hear it.
Welcome back to the Monomyth Diaries, where it's a take what you like and leave the rest podcast.
In our last episode, Maaike took us through her upbringing and marriage in an environment where she felt powerless to use her voice.
Let's welcome Maaike back to the show.
So welcome back, Maaike, for another episode of the Monomyth Diaries. We're happy to talk about chapter 2 of your monomyth. So our first question for you is, you refer to the year 2013 as year lucky 13. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. 2013, I was starting to run marathons. I was also going through the menopause. And that is the year that I ran the Boston Marathon. So my first marathon that I ran Houston, and I ran it, and I did not qualify for Boston Marathon for 1 minute. I was not even thinking about qualifying for Boston, but a good friend of mine who had ran the Boston Marathon, she was also my trainer. She said, Maaike, she said, you did not qualify for 1 minute. So now you have to run a marathon to qualify for Boston. So I did a second marathon and I qualified for Boston. So that year I ran the Boston Marathon, and my father had passed away 2 years prior. So this was a very special marathon. And I said, I'm just going to enjoy this marathon. I had already qualified, so I didn't have to meet any standards, any times. I'm just going to enjoy it. And I'm going to dedicate this marathon to my dad. I was wanting to seek for his relationship, his guidance, and this connection. I was looking for connection. So I was like, I'm going to dedicate this to my dad. In his life, he ran 1 or 2 marathons in his life. So I was kind of in honor of him and to build that connection. I was really looking for building a new relationship with my father in a more spiritual way. So we ran it with my friend Beth and me. So we finished the marathon. We had the same pace, the full 26.2 miles. As you finish the Boston Marathon, they give you like a wrap, a metallic wrap, so that you keep warm, and also a baggie full of little food so that you can refuel. And when we dropped off our things, our belongings, it was in a school bus that took us 26 miles out, so that in Boston, you just run from 26 miles out into the city. We were there waiting for our stuff. And then there was a big boom, an explosion. That was a year of the bomb of the marathon, that they had a Boston Marathon bombing. So we go to the hotel, we turn on the TV, what we see, the bombing and people losing their legs and losing their arms because they were there right there at the finish line. I had dedicated this race to my dad. We dropped 15 minutes from our time. We PR'd. That was our best time. My time normally was 4 hours. I dropped 15 minutes out of that. So I finished in 3 hours and 42 minutes. That saved us from the bomb. My dad was guiding me, pushing me. That's why I say this year was catalyst in so many aspects. And I have tears in my eyes because
Me too.
that year is the same year that I started with essential oils. So that was a catalyst of the bomb. It was like bombing of perimenopause, kind of the bomb and the rebirth of the becoming a new version of me that I didn't know back then. But it was a catalyst to start looking for solutions in different things.
I love that you had dedicated to your dad and that he had been with you and guided you to be done early. It's almost like you're getting a second chance to do things differently. For people who haven't tuned into the first episode, do you mind telling us, so we're talking about how this is a catalyst for change. You've said at the end of the last episode that you're starting to get these nudges that you want your life to look different. Do you mind backing up just a little bit? Tell us some of the first signs that something was breaking inside of you. What were some of the first signs that something was wrong?
Okay, so something was wrong was like with my body, right? It's like, what is happening to me? Like that was that disruption with the bombing, but also in my body. It's like something is not working right. I didn't like I was running marathons, but I didn't like who I was seeing in the mirror. I didn't like that version of me in the mirror. I was like starting to judge her, even though I was running marathons and eating healthy, and then becoming also have a little bit of brain fog.
You feel like your body's deteriorating. So we use the word perimenopausal, and you didn't really know
Yes.
what that was.
No. And perimenopause, you feel like your body's breaking. Now I know what's happening. The estrogen is going lower. Your brain is not functioning the same. So we need to nurture the body and the brain in a different way. But I had no idea that was going to happen. I never had this kind of conversations with my mom or anybody else. So I'm living here alone and then with my friends, but we didn't talk these things because when you don't know where you having what's happening, you didn't even know how to talk about it. And I was not feeling sick that to go to the doctor. I didn't have that community that I felt that it would have been really good to have a community where you can kind of share, talk about what's happening. At that time, I think I felt very alone. And then I started kind of asking questions, and that's when my aunt, my father's youngest sister, she's very into metaphysics. She's very spiritual. She's very doing like meditation and journaling. She said, Maaike, I think you're ready for learning how to meditate. She showed me a little bit, kind of to chill and to slow down, just the value of quieting and then making that pause. In menopause, we need to make that pause and contemplate and kind of breathe and just kind of disconnect from the outside world. So that was kind of all the bombing and then the meditation, like just that and that eagerness to connect with something bigger, to connect with the spiritual of my dad. Or I was kind of hungry for spiritual connection, something greater, something supportive, loving. That meditation helped me.
That's a really great tool.
Yeah, The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein. And she's all about meditation, and she's a spiritual guide and really brings you in tune with your body.
So, Maaike, what kind of pain would you say you were hiding from the outside world?
Faking that everything was fine, faking a smile like with my family and in the table with my kids. I never asked, it's like, hey, this is what needs to be done. Who can help me? I just assumed everything. And I thought that being a good mom was resolving everything for everybody.
You haven't told anybody that you're feeling these changes. You haven't told anybody that you're feeling alone. You're really not talking to anybody. You have reached out to your aunt who's helped you start meditating. How did you start to begin to reconnect with yourself? Like, how does that happen? How do you start to learn about perimenopause? How do you start to find your voice? How does that happen? What does that look like?
So my daughter, we're sitting in the kitchen and I start thinking like, I don't remember things. I had brain fog. I start talking with her. She's going to go to college. And I live in Houston. She was going to go to California. So she's my third child. I'm about to become an empty nester. And she said, Mom, have you heard about keto diet? It's a way of eating that they use for people who are epileptic so that their brain can function better. I was following Dr. Axe that I loved receiving his newsletters. And that day, the newsletter was about epileptic and keto diet. I had never been on a diet before. I was always a healthy eater. I was not feeding my brain like I needed, and I was not sleeping enough. I didn't know that lack of sleep would deteriorate your brain so much, but I had no knowledge about perimenopause at this point. Still, I was just thinking about the brain. I don't want that to be that person that forgets everything and not enjoy my grandkids when they come along. My grandkids deserve to see what or listen to their grandma's stories. I said, today I make a decision. I researched everything and I changed the way I was eating. Within a week of changing the way I was eating, I was no longer sleepy. I have more energy and I can remember things. I was felt more productive again. At the same time, a friend of mine, she admired my marathon running very much. And she never trained for a marathon. She was never a runner. She was always admiring me. But then I see on social media that she had just finished a half marathon. I said, how did that happen? So I said, let's talk. I want to know all about it. So we hop on a conversation. And then she said, and by the way, how are you doing? I'm going to go to a reading club tomorrow. Do you want to come? I felt very sad. My daughter is going to go to college and I feel very lonely. Thank goodness I did that. That decision has changed my entire life because that decision gave me the community. The book that we were reading, it was a book of joy from Dalai Lama. And just a discussion about joy. I was seeking joy. I did not have joy for so many years, feeling so lonely and doing all the things for the kids. I did not do anything for me. And I start talking and I start crying. That's when I started to hear my voice. And they were curious and they were listening and they were asking me questions. It was like I sighed. I was able to just relax and just kind of have the tears come naturally and be okay with it. And actually, we just celebrated the 8th anniversary. I will always be thankful for this reading club because it saved my life. So that was my rescue. And then a friend of mine from the reading club said, my dream is to run a marathon. So I was always bringing something super healthy and super different. So they were very curious and they saw how my body was. So it's like they wanted to be more like me. All of a sudden, I get all this attention and I have something to share. I have something to talk about because I had made a change. For the first time ever, people were asking me, what do you like? What do you want? Or can you share with me how to run a marathon? I coached her and she ran her first marathon successfully. I was able to help her achieve her goals. And I said, thank you, Viviana. You uncovered my calling. She helped me awaken that in me to help somebody else achieve their goals. This we were talking about something special. After I found Health Coach Institute that helped me change habits to change life.
But I want to circle back around to you had lost your voice. You hadn't had it in a very long time. And you finally got brave enough to tell your friend, I'm lonely. I'm sad. I'm about to be an empty nester. Because up until that point, your identity has been wife and mother. That's where your identity is coming from. And as your children are leaving, you're losing that. And so it's such good timing that you finally can say, I'm sad and I'm lonely. And you get invited to this book club. And it just opens so many beautiful doors for you.
Yeah.
So you're in this book club with these wonderful ladies who are obviously loving and accepting. You're finding your voice. You're finding your value. At what point do you finally make the connection that you're going through perimenopause? Because I'm 48. I started going through perimenopause is what it's called. And no one had ever really talked about that with me either. Tell us what that looked like for you. How did you learn about it? What are you doing about it?
It's incredible because till this point, I have no idea about what perimenopause is. Menopause is nothing. I'm just finding solutions for the symptom that I'm having. I started, I go to a Health Coach Institute. That was 2019 when COVID happened. Finished my entire coaching career. I started launching my business, start having clients. Until I finished the studies of coaching, who am I talking to? My ideal client. I didn't know who that was. I need to take another course. I immersed into another program, and that allowed me to learn how to navigate Facebook groups and learning about women and how to learn about their lives and just starting to do the DMs and the connections. But all this time, I'm navigating this confusion of how to attract my ideal client. Who is that person? Of course, it was going to be someone like me, someone who is dealing with this, but I still don't know what perimenopause is. And in this program, it was a guy and a woman together doing the coaching, which was brilliant. I needed that support of a guy. I loved that it was co-ed because for me, it was kind of healing, but it was an evolution. They helped me figure out what was my story and all my struggles. They dissected everything that they said. Okay, your target market is menopause. Then I start going into Facebook groups that are perimenopause, menopause, and then I start reading everything. And that is when I really started learning about perimenopause and menopause.
Okay. So your coaching started by coaching somebody in marathoning, and then it evolved into you were taking classes and coaching women, but not really realizing that you were attracting people like yourself, as the people that you wanted to help were like yourself. And that has now become what
But
you do.
how not
Okay.
You're now taking agency. You're making decisions. In the last episode, and for a lot of this, your Monomyth has been talking about you were taking direction from your family, from your dad, your mom, and then your husband, and then taking care of the kids. And now you're like, I need to take some decisions about me, about my well-being. And I love that you're doing this, and that it has evolved into helping other women in your position. What would you have said to yourself? Future you today is going to speak to younger you. What would you have said to yourself?
I would have said, make sure that you are doing something for yourself that keeps you connected. So build community, be part of a community. I was starving for knowledge and connection, and ask questions. That's something that is important. Ask for help. Do not do it all by yourself.
I love that. So you recently celebrated another major milestone, 55. What's special about that year?
When I celebrated 55, some people said, oh, it's a double nickel, 5-5. Like I said, I was managing the business for my husband without having appreciation or support in anything. I'm having issues with my husband and the business. So I'm kind of wanting to make a big change. And I want to kind of separate myself from that working for my husband, but it's like something had to change. That year was a year of Christmas, and we are gathered around the table. For me, the most important was to be able to talk at the table, our desires, our dreams, our appreciations about the year, what we wanted to the next year. And I start asking questions for the first time in the table, and I start having that dialogue, and I start appreciating right to my husband and saying, hey, thank you so much for everything that you have done for us to live here, to have a life, to have a green card. You have done so much, so thank you. And I wanted everybody to say their appreciations, to show gratitude. And my kids start, and then my husband says, you never appreciated your breast implants. You never appreciated your ear operation. And we start fighting. But you know what? I thank it so much, because that moment I'm recognizing, realizing, no, I don't have to be controlled. I can say yes to myself. When you say no to others, you say yes to yourself. But I was saying too many yeses. I was agreeing too much to everybody except for me. So I was put myself always at the bottom of the priority list.
So up until this point, you've been gathering tools in your toolbox. You're reading, you're reaching out to friends, you're meditating, you're running, you're coaching women, you're learning about yourself. And then this happens. I love that you're saying, I don't have to live this way. I can say yes to myself. And that's a big pivotal moment. That's monumental for you, that you can look at this situation. And as you said, you could be grateful because you're able to say something great came out of this bad situation. I love that.
And it's the change of perspective. We always get to choose. And you can choose to see it all black and negative. That's just going to pull you down. But if you choose to see the obstacle is the way, that is the catalyst that will make you change. We cannot see white if we do not know how black looks. So we have to look at black in order to appreciate the white. There's always a solution. Now I'm in this season of life. For the last year, I've been learning and surrounding me with people that are more spiritual, God-oriented, and I had never talked about that. And it's given me so much peace of mind. I'm in a church. Now I have another community that have brought me close to God.
Well, I'm looking forward to talking about all of the boons and all the gifts that you're accumulating now after all this hard work and all these years that you've been going through this. So could you tell us, how did your transformation, all the things that you went through, shape the way that you serve women today?
I learned so much to adjust and evolve according to the challenges that I was troubling in the moment. I feel that these 2 decades have helped me compile so many tools like eating and mindfulness and talking, having conversations and building community. Just having that insight of what's happening to their body, of why they're feeling how they're feeling, having that validation that they're not crazy, because I felt crazy, having those kind of suicidal thoughts, and that happens in menopause because there's a lot of depression, anxiety, but it's unresolved emotions. So everything comes to the surface in this time. So just having someone to talk about what is happening and to give a little direction. Every story is so different.
And I think you're just so passionate about wanting to help women not suffer the way that you did.
I'm very passionate about talking one-to-one or in a group, in an environment where everybody can share their pain, the struggle. We all have aches and pain, and not only muscle pains, emotional pains, because they really create wounds. And if we don't voice it, it happens that it's poison to ourselves. I think we protect ourselves from being judged, criticized, but we are our worst critics. We stand in front of the mirror and we critique everything that we see, especially in perimenopause.
It sounds like you take a very holistic approach when you work with women. You're not just looking at them physically, you're looking at the whole picture.
Absolutely. Because if not, it's just applying a Band-Aid. I think the first step is awareness. And when there's a lot of trouble or things are breaking down, look inward.
I love that. Through your journey, you've learned that you have to look inward. External solutions aren't out there. You have to look inward.
That is when the healing starts. I like to say, like menopause, me no pause. It's time for me to pause and reflect and go inward so that you can be a better version of you.
Do you mind if I back up for just a second? In the last episode, we've shared all about your journey and tools that you've collected along the way, put in your toolbox, skills you've picked up along the way. And we keep mentioning that you're a coach. And at one point, you were helping women run marathons, and your coaching has evolved over time. All of these experiences have led you into a professional shift. Do you mind sharing with us what is it that you do today?
Coaching women in this season of uncertainty, which is 40s, 50s, 60s, figuring out their true calling, their purpose through navigating the different things in their body, hormonal and symptoms, because every challenge is going to lead you to do something different.
So you're coaching women between the ages of 40 and 60 as they start going through that shift in life.
Perimenopause, menopause, empty nester, and retirement. Navigating this midlife in order to become the version of me that was brought to be to this world.
So you specifically target midlife for women. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about some personal gifts that you've gotten. How have your relationships evolved with your friends, with your kids? What does that look like now?
Well, my kids, they're so proud of mom doing something for herself. When I decided to invest in myself in a coaching program, because now I have a new relationship with me because I invested in me. Now I have something to offer to my kids. All the years I invested in them, now it's coming back and then leading me. And that relationship, holy moly, is just growing. And that I can be myself with them. I can ask them. I can cry with them. I can ask them for support.
I love that. And they're watching you grow and they're doing it right alongside you.
I just want to respond by saying I love that your relationships evolved because you first made a decision, you took agency and said, I'm going to invest in myself. So that's inspiring. I have to ask you, what does freedom feel like to you now?
Freedom is not asking for permission. Ask, what do you really want? And listening to your body. I have a big vision, so having that freedom to create anything is possible. And now I can see with clarity. My binders are out. Now I want to bring more color to life.
Yeah, and you have your voice. I mean, how freeing is that? You never had that before. I mean, that's huge. Finding your voice, I know I went through that, learning to speak up for myself and tell people what I need and what I want and how I feel. That's huge to find your voice and super freeing. When you reflect on everything that you've been through, what do you think is your proudest moment?
My proudest moment was the decision of doing the coaching, investing in myself, always evolving, always growing, always changing.
So if you stepped into this role of, connecting with women and coaching them, especially through your message of me, no pause, what did it feel like for you to finally step into this calling?
I was seeking light. Now I am the light.
You've shared an enormous wealth of knowledge and wisdom today. What's the one thing you hope listeners will get from your Monomyth today?
Believe in yourself before you believe in anybody else. And if you don't believe in yourself, surround with someone that already has what you want and that can help you, hold you by your hand, and that will share that belief in you because you deserve, you're worthy, and you're made for something greater.
All right, we always end every Monomyth with an attitude of gratitude. Are there any heroes in your life that you would like to lift up today? Special people, anybody that's been a mentor along the way?
Or had an impact?
Several people. My aunt, who has been my spiritual guide, my son Gerardo, who has brought my coaching, my conversation. He really built me who I was as a mother too, because he challenged me a lot with all his therapy and things that I had to go through. Well, he had to go through, but I have to believe in him before he could believe in himself. Now I'm receiving that fruit because he has the most peaceful way of talking and sharing his knowledge. I want to thank also my wellness community because I have some leaders that are allowing me to voice who I want and support me and allow me to grow in my own pace. And another coach that I had, that is Human Design. Thank you for bringing this realization to life that I value. I can value myself and I can see the worthiness and the value in others. Even though I have talked things that I don't like about my husband, I think he's a great teacher. Even if it's not the right way, but I can forgive and I can appreciate.
I love that you can show gratitude for even the people that are difficult for you. As we said in another episode with another guest, they're your sandpaper people. They push you, they rub you maybe the wrong way, but they're refining you. I love that you can show gratitude for even those people. Good for you.
It's hard, but God is doing that for a reason.
Any burning desires before we wrap up today?
Be the best right now. And if something is troubling, just kind of look at the positive side of it and learn something about that, because it's not there to break you, it's there to make you.
To teach us. Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us. It's been an honor. We're super grateful that you took the time with us. We will definitely make sure we drop all of Maaike's information in the show notes so that you can reach out to her.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Maaike, thanks again for taking us through your Monomyth.
We've loved getting to hear all about your growth and look forward to seeing where this new chapter will take you. Thank you for joining us on the Monomyth Diaries. If this episode resonates with you or someone you know, we'd love for you to share it and spread the inspiration.
Don't forget to follow us wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube to stay connected.
We'd appreciate if you could take a moment and rate and review the podcast. It helps us reach more people with stories of transformation and growth.
You can visit us at monomythdiaries.com or text us directly from the show notes to reach out and keep the conversations going.
Until next time, heroes, let's journey together through our monomyths.